James was Tommy's father, my sister Andrea declared, her voice echoing through the now silent funeral home. I have proof. The handful of remaining mourners turned to stare as she waved a manila envelope triumphantly. My husband's funeral hadn't even ended, and here she was ready to destroy what remained of my world. I stood quietly by James's casket, my black dress still immaculate despite the long day of receiving condolences. At 35, I thought I knew everything about my husband of 12 years, but Andrea's eyes gleamed with malicious satisfaction as she pulled out papers from her envelope. DNA test results, she announced, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor as she approached me. And his revised will. He left everything to his son, my Tommy. She thrust the papers toward me, but I didn't reach for them. Instead, I found myself thinking about 3 months ago, when James had come home looking troubled and asked to talk. I remembered that evening clearly. He'd sat me down in our study, his normally confident demeanor shaken. "Emily," he'd said, his voice trembling, "there's something I need to tell you. It's about Andrea." Now, watching my sister's triumphant smile, I thought about everything James had revealed that night. About Andrea's obsession with him, the inappropriate advances, the threats. He'd shown me the messages she'd sent him over the years, each one more disturbing than the last. "Aren't you going to say anything?" Andrea demanded, pulling me back to the present. Her 9-year-old son Tommy stood beside her, looking confused and uncomfortable in his ill-fitting suit. The poor boy had no idea he was being used as a pawn in his mother's twisted game. "What would you like me to say?" I asked calmly, smoothing my dress. My composure seemed to irritate her further. "Your marriage was a lie," she spat. "James loved me. Tommy is proof of that. Everything you thought you had with him was fake." She turned to address the shocked onlookers. "My sister stole James from me in college. I was the one he really wanted." I noticed our mother in the corner, her hand covering her mouth in horror. Dad had left years ago, unable to deal with Andrea's increasingly erratic behavior. Now I understood why he'd warned me to be careful around her. "The will is very clear," Andrea continued, her voice rising. "James changed it just before his accident. Everything goes to his true heir, my son. The house, the savings, everything. You get nothing, Emily, nothing." I watched Tommy shrink further into himself, clearly distressed by his mother's behavior. My heart ached for him. None of this was his fault. "Are you done?" I asked quietly. My calm response seemed to throw her off balance. She'd expected tears, denial, maybe even a scene. Instead, she got measured composure. You don't seem surprised," she faltered, her triumphant smile wavering. "Why would I be? James told me everything 3 months ago." The color drained from her face. What?" I reached into my purse and pulled out my own envelope. "He told me about your obsession, Andrea. About the stalking, the manipulated photos, the fake messages. He showed me everything." "You're lying," she whispered, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. "He'd also told me about how you claimed Tommy was his son. That's why he agreed to the DNA test." I paused, letting my words sink in. He wanted proof, one way or another. "But what you didn't know was that he had a second test done, one you couldn't manipulate." Andrea's hands began to shake. The remaining mourners watched in stunned silence as I continued. "James was dying, Andrea. The accident didn't kill him, the cancer did. He knew you'd try something like this. That's why he spent his last months gathering evidence, protecting our assets, and making sure the truth would come out." "No," she shook her head violently. "No, you're lying. I have proof." "You have forged documents," I corrected gently, "just like the ones you tried to use 5 years ago with your former boss." "Yes, James told me about that too. About how you claimed your son was his, how you tried to extort money from him. It's all documented." Tommy looked up at his mother, confusion and hurt in his eyes. "Mom, what's Aunt Emily talking about?" Andrea grabbed Tommy's arm. "Don't listen to her. She's just jealous. James loved us." "James never touched you, Andrea. The real DNA test proves it. Tommy deserves better than to be used as a weapon in your vendetta against me." The room had grown so quiet you could hear a pin drop. I opened my envelope, ready to reveal what James had left me, the truth that would change everything. But that would have to wait for another moment because Andrea's face had contorted with a rage I'd never seen before. Andrea lunged forward, her perfectly manicured nails reaching for my envelope. I stepped back, keeping my composure even as she lost hers completely. "You've always been jealous of me," she screamed, her carefully crafted image crumbling. "First with Mom and Dad, then with James. You couldn't stand that he loved me first." "Mom, please stop," Tommy pleaded, tears streaming down his face. Our mother rushed forward, finally breaking free from her shocked stupor to pull Tommy away from the scene. I watched my sister's breakdown with a mixture of pity and resignation. James had warned me this would happen. "She'll try to destroy you when I'm gone," he'd said during one of our last conversations. "But I've made sure she can't." "You want to know what's in here, Andrea?" I asked, holding up my envelope. "The real DNA test results, yes. But also something else. Security footage from James's office, from the day you showed up claiming Tommy was his son." Her face went pale. "You're bluffing." Camera date, March 15th, 4:30 p.m. "You threatened to ruin his reputation if he didn't pay you monthly support. You said you'd tell everyone he'd taken advantage of you during my wedding." "Stop," she whispered. But James was smarter than that. He recorded everything. Every threat, every manipulated photo you sent, every attempt to blackmail him. He kept it all. The remaining funeral guests watched in horror as Andrea's carefully constructed lies unraveled. Tommy had buried his face in our mother's dress, his small shoulders shaking with sobs. "Why?" I asked, my voice softening. "Why would you do this to your own son? Make him believe lies about his father?" "Because you took everything," she shrieked. "You were always the perfect one, the responsible one, the one they loved best. Then you took James too." "I didn't take James, he chose me, and you spent 12 years trying to destroy that choice." I pulled out a letter from my envelope, James's final message to Andrea. "He wanted you to have this. He knew you'd try something at his funeral. Knew you'd want one last chance to hurt me. But he also wanted to give you a chance to stop this madness." Andrea stared at the letter, her hands trembling. "In this envelope," I continued, "there's also a check. Money for Tommy's therapy, his education, his future. James knew the boy shouldn't suffer for his mother's actions. But there's a condition." "What condition?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "You get help, real help, the kind you've needed since we were teenagers. James arranged everything. The best psychiatric facility in the state, full coverage, complete confidentiality. You just have to choose to take it." The fight seemed to drain from her body. She sank into a nearby chair, the weight of her lies finally becoming too heavy to bear. "What about Tommy?" she whispered. "Mom will take care of him while you're getting treatment." James thought of everything. He knew Tommy would need stability, support, and most importantly, the truth. Our mother stepped forward, still holding Tommy protectively. "Andrea, please, let us help you. Let Tommy have a chance at a normal life." I watched as my sister's carefully constructed facade crumbled completely. The designer outfit, the perfect makeup, the practiced confidence, it all fell away, leaving only a broken woman who'd spent years living in a fantasy of her own creation. I never meant," she started, then broke down in tears. I knelt beside her, remembering the sister she used to be before the lies consumed her. "I know," I said softly, "but it's time to stop. For Tommy's sake, if not for your own." Tommy approached us cautiously. "Mom," his voice quivered. "Is it true? About my real dad?" Andrea looked at her son, really looked at him, perhaps for the first time seeing the damage her lies had caused. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, baby." As I watched my sister finally face the truth, I felt the weight of James's foresight. He'd known this day would come, had prepared for it meticulously, not just to protect me, but to try and save what remained of my family. The real will, the one Andrea hadn't known about, didn't just provide for Tommy's future. It created a path toward healing for everyone involved. James, even in death, was trying to fix what my sister had broken. Mother took Tommy home that evening, while Andrea, finally accepting reality, agreed to check herself into the facility. As I watched them leave the funeral home, I pulled out one last letter from my envelope. James's final words to me. I sat in our bedroom that night, James's final letter in my hands. The house felt eerily quiet, so different from when his laughter used to fill every room. With trembling fingers, I opened his last message. "My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, then everything has played out as we expected. I'm sorry you had to face Andrea's accusations on the day of my funeral, but I knew it was coming. I hope the preparations we made helped ease that burden. You were always stronger than you knew. That's why I fell in love with you all those years ago, not just your kindness or your beauty, but your quiet strength. The same strength that helped me through my darkest days with cancer, even when I couldn't tell you the whole truth about Andrea's threats. I need you to know that every moment with you was real. Every laugh, every tear, every simple Tuesday morning coffee. It was all real. Andrea's obsession tried to poison that, but she never succeeded. Our love was always stronger than her lies. Take care of Tommy. He's an innocent in all this, and he'll need someone to show him what genuine love looks like. You've always had such a gift for healing broken things. Help heal him too. And Emily, don't let this be the end of your story. You're only 35, with so much life ahead of you. Live it fully, love again if you find someone worthy, and know that my love for you was complete and unchanging. Forever yours, James. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I finished reading. Even now, he was taking care of me, of everyone. I tucked the letter away and pulled out my phone, seeing several messages from Mom about Tommy. He's sleeping now, or text read. Asked about you. Would you come visit tomorrow? I replied with a yes, knowing James was right. Tommy needed us now more than ever. The next few months brought changes I never expected. Andrea's time in treatment revealed years of untreated mental health issues, delusions that had warped her perception of reality. Tommy, with the help of therapy, began to understand that his mother's lies didn't define him. I kept my promise to James, becoming a steady presence in Tommy's life. We spent weekends together, working in the garden James had loved, talking about everything and nothing. Slowly, I watched my nephew emerge from the shadow of his mother's lies, becoming his own person. 6 months after the funeral, I received a letter from Andrea. Her handwriting, once sharp and aggressive, had softened. Dear Emily, the doctors say writing this letter is part of my healing process, but the truth is I've owed you these words for years. I'm sorry for everything. The lies, the manipulation, the pain I caused you and Tommy. The doctors helped me understand that my obsession with James wasn't love. It was a symptom of something broken inside me. You didn't steal my life, as I convinced myself. I stole years from Tommy's life with my lies, and I nearly stole your chance to grieve James properly. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I'm finally seeing things clearly. Tommy talks about you in his weekly visits, about the garden, the stories you tell him, the way you're helping him understand that family can be honest and loving. Thank you for being what I couldn't be for him. Andrea. I folded the letter carefully, thinking about James's words about healing broken things. Perhaps that healing could extend to my sister too in time. A year after James's funeral, I stood in our garden with Tommy, planting new bulbs for spring. He'd grown taller, his smile easier, the weight of his mother's lies lifting gradually from his shoulders. Aunt Emily, he asked, patting soil around a daffodil bulb. Do you think Mom will get better? I looked at my nephew, seeing both the hurt he carried and the hope he was learning to embrace. I think she's trying, I answered honestly, and that's the most important part. He nodded, wisdom beyond his years in his eyes. Like these flowers, right? They need time and care to grow properly, no shortcuts. Exactly like that. I smiled, remembering James's words about my gift for healing broken things. That evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, I felt a deep sense of peace. James had known exactly what we'd all need, not just protection from Andrea's lies, but a path toward healing. His final gift hadn't just been the practical arrangements he'd made, but the chance for our broken family to grow something new from the ashes of the past. Tommy was spending more time with Andrea now, their relationship slowly rebuilding on a foundation of truth rather than lies. My mother had found her strength, becoming the parent she should have been years ago. And I was learning that love doesn't end with loss. It transforms, becoming something new but no less beautiful. James had been right. This wasn't the end of my story, it was just the beginning of a different chapter.